If you've been scrolling through endless spec sheets, watching video after video comparing power analyzers, and still feel like you're missing the one that actually fits your shop or lab, you're not alone. I've been there, stuck between a high-end industrial unit that costs a small fortune and a cheap handheld that barely shows a waveform. The decision feels risky because the wrong tool can leave you chasing phantom voltage problems for weeks. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review, I'm going to walk through the ETCR5200 3-phase power quality analyzer with the ETCR300F current clamp, explain where it shines, where it falls short, and help you decide whether it's the right investment for your needs. First, let's talk about what this device actually does in a real-world environment. Imagine you run a small manufacturing line that uses 3-phase motors, variable frequency drives, and a mix of LED lighting. You've noticed occasional trips on your main breaker and suspect power quality issues, but you've never had a way to see what's happening on the line in real time. The ETCR5200 plugs into a single phase of your supply, the clamp slips around a line conductor, and the unit starts displaying waveforms, phasor angles, and harmonic distortion right on its screen. The real-time display is not just a pretty graph. It lets you spot a sudden voltage sag the moment a motor starts, see the ripple that a poorly filtered inverter introduces, and watch how the system recovers. For a maintenance engineer who needs to convince management that a line conditioner is worth the expense, that visual evidence can be the difference between a budget approval and a dead end. One of the biggest strengths of the ETCR5200 is its multi-parameter measurement capability. It captures voltage, current, frequency, power factor, total harmonic distortion, and a handful of other metrics simultaneously. In a typical day, I've seen users connect the clamp to a motor feed while the analyzer logs data for a full 24-hour period. When the logs are downloaded later, the trend analysis feature highlights exactly when the voltage dip occurred, how long it lasted, and how much the harmonic content spiked. That kind of historical insight is hard to get from a basic handheld that only shows instantaneous values. If you need to produce a report for an electrician or an energy consultant, the built-in data logging saves you from having to set up a separate data acquisition system. That said, there are a few practical trade-offs you should be aware of before you click Add to Cart. The first is the learning curve. The menu system is menu-driven rather than touchscreen, and while the interface is logical, it does require you to spend a few minutes navigating the different measurement modes before you feel comfortable. If you're the type who wants plug-and-play with a single button press, you might find the initial setup a bit more involved than you expected. The second trade-off is the physical size of the unit. It's larger than a typical pocket-sized multimeter, so you'll need a dedicated bench or a sturdy mounting bracket in your field service vehicle. The clamp itself is solid and accurate, but it adds a little bulk, meaning you can't just toss it in a small toolbox and expect it to fit comfortably. Who should buy the ETCR5200? The sweet spot is small to medium industrial facilities, commercial building managers, and serious HVAC or electrical contractors who need more than a quick voltage check. If you already own a basic power meter and you're constantly calling in a specialist to interpret waveforms, this analyzer pays for itself by letting you do the diagnostics in-house. It also makes sense for research labs that need to verify power quality when testing new equipment. The price point sits between entry-level meters and the high-end industrial rigs, so it offers a respectable amount of data without demanding a six-figure budget. Who should skip it? If you're a DIY hobbyist who only ever checks a single outlet for voltage, or you're looking for a tool to verify a home theater setup, this is overkill. The features that matter: 3-phase analysis, harmonic tracking, long-term logging won't be used in a residential environment. Likewise, if your workflow is strictly limited to occasional spot checks and you never need to produce formal reports, a simpler clamp meter or a basic power quality handheld will be more cost-effective and easier to carry around. Let's get into a couple of concrete scenarios to illustrate the value. A plant manager I spoke with was dealing with frequent tripping of a 400A breaker feeding a set of conveyor belts. By installing the ETCR5200 on one of the phases and leaving it to log for a week, he discovered a pattern. Every time a large air compressor kicked in, the The voltage dip on that phase exceeded the breaker's trip curve by just enough to cause a nuisance trip. The harmonic analysis also showed a spike in the 5th and 7th harmonics, pointing to the compressor's motor drive as the source. Armed with that data, he was able to justify installing a line reactor, which eliminated the trips and saved the plant several hours.